Hi, I'm Beck and I'm a property investor.
And I'm Daria. I own my own home and I'm curious about investing.
We're the hosts of Investors in the Wild.
We've heard it all before. Build your wealth, get expert advice, learn about high yield, high growth investments, blah, blah, blah.
That's just not us. We're real mates with real talk about real estate. No ego, no financial advice.
It's all about wins you can use right now.
Let's get into it. Hello, it's Beck. Last year, we had Shady and Dave on the show and heard about how they went from 0 to 5 properties in just 8 years using a buyer's agent. If you haven't listened to their episode yet, pause this episode and listen to that first one. It's really good. Today, Shady and Dave share something equally game-changing, the investing rituals that they use as a couple, as well as rituals that they use with their friends and investing network. I've literally introduced changes to my life and financial rituals after hearing what Shady and Dave had to say. If you've been investing for a while, this episode will give you some ideas. And if you're a hopeful investor, you'll also get ideas that set you up for smarter investing decisions. Shady, we're so excited to have you and Dave here. Shady, Dave, did you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourselves?
I am American, born and raised in Texas, and Dave's Canadian. And we both met in South Korea in 2008 when we were teaching English in an after-school program. But then we decided to move to Australia about 18 months later because it was not an ideal time to move back to the US and Canada during the global financial crisis. Australia had a visa for under 30-year-olds to come and work and live in this country. And we decided, let's do it. Let's do it for 1 year, and then we can go back to North America. And that 1 year has turned into 15 years. So we lived in Sydney for 15 years, thinking it'll only be 1 year. And in terms of our investing journey, it started about 2018. 8 years after moving here. So we lived here for 8 years and then started investing in property.
And you're a married couple.
Yes, we are
Yes,
married.
so
We
this
got
is
married in 2016 and we had our first child in 2020. But I particularly remember posting an Instagram post with our first baby, which was our first investment property. In 2018, and I said, "Oh, I hope you'll grow. You're gonna be our little nest egg."
I love that. I'm so excited because we haven't had a married couple on the show. And so hearing about your journey is going to be fascinating and it's going to resonate with a lot of people who are starting out in this space as either a married couple, de facto couple, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be. You mentioned that you started in 2018. What made you guys finally pull the trigger, and how long after deciding did you make the move to actually purchase a property?
We were working and living in Sydney, and we always had the same mindset around money. It's something that bonded us together early on, that we were both frugal. We spent on the things that we only deemed as worthwhile things to spend on. We would save as much as we could. So from that point of view, we had the same mindset towards money, which was a great starting point. And then as our jobs kept progressing and we kept getting promotions, we were sitting on a bit of cash. And we just looked at it and said, what are we doing with this cash? We're not spending it. We don't want to spend it. We want to think about our future. We were just accumulating money, living a frugal lifestyle. Our savings account was just ballooning up and was reaching the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 mark. And we were just thinking, surely there has to be something else that we can do with this. People don't live their life with $100,000, $200,000 just sitting in a savings account. And then we started thinking, okay, what can we do with that cash? And we had some friends that were starting to look at investing.
Do you guys find yourselves getting itchy? You just mentioned like $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Now when your savings accounts get that high, do you find yourselves getting a bit itchy and like, we've got to do something with this? I feel the same.
You just want your money working for you, and if it's just sitting there. We have a primary place of residence now, so any extra cash just sits in the offset account, so at least we know it's doing something. But then it's like, okay, well, what's the strategy? Where do we want to put it? Where is it going to work hardest for us? And what does that mid to long term look like? And how can we set it up now? So yeah, absolutely.
I don't think you get that itch until you've done it once. And so you can have savings, and mine just sits there as I deliberate on what to do. But I think, to your point, you guys have seen it grow, you've experienced it. And then once you've done that, you just want to keep going and keep reaching for the stars. So I think there's a lot to be said to people who are in your position, who have savings set aside and haven't invested it yet and haven't watched it grow or seen it generating its own income.
Hey, jumping in real quick, there are a few gold nuggets in what Shady and Dave just shared. They have very clear success levers that you'll hear come up time and time again in this episode. Number 1, get started investing, even if it's something small. And again, listen to Shady and Dave's first episode to hear how they did this with a very small initial investment. Number 2, track your investments. Shady and Dave do this monthly in a really low lift way. Number 3, you're about to hear more on this next one. Expand your understanding of what you can do with your money through learning from other people via conversations with other investors or doing your own research, or our podcast as well. Doing these things opens up your mind and your awareness to different things that you can do with your finances. Okay, let's get back into it. Dave, I want to go into the meetings that you have with your friends to talk about finances, because I think that also contributes to that itch developing and you being like, okay, this is fun now. Investing becomes fun.
Our friendship circle was pretty crucial to us actually pulling the trigger on our first investment property. My best mate, he had a buyer's agent that he was engaging with. I was asking him about how that was all working, and he had great feedback from that, and we engaged the same buyer's agent. Went through all the rigmarole of all the risks and understanding all of the things that are required for an investment property around securing financing and tenants and all that kind of stuff, and that was all new to us. So we had a lot of questions the first time we went, and it probably took us about 6 months from when we first decided we'll get into it to then actually having a property.
And for us as migrants in this country, the first connections we made were our friends circles, like the community we built. So moving to Coogee, for example, we were part of the Coogee Beach volleyball community. And so through Dave's best mate, who's in that community, that person had also had a friend in that community who did quite a bit of investing. And so now we were seeing examples of how people were using different investing strategies within our close circle of friends. And so that leap to actually take on the risk, I think, was smaller because we could see other friends doing it. And so that made us feel more comfortable to enter into investing.
We love talking about property. We were chatting with our friends. We set up these sort of quarterly finance meetings. I've got a group of friends that I do that with, and we just nerd out over finance. So we talk about everything, about super, about loan structures, about investment properties, PPOR, investing for kids. Everything's on the table.
I kid you not, I never look at my superannuation. I never look at my superannuation. It's funny, at my work, I'm continually evaluating, how did that go? What can I do better? What am I going to change next time? But I'm not reflecting on my finances in the same way. And I wonder how much more my growth would accelerate if I was reflecting regularly and pairing that with learning from other people at the same time. It's such a good idea.
I think gone are the days of the book clubs, right? Like back in the day, we'd have book clubs where you have a Wednesday night session with wine and you discuss books. Now the world has evolved in such a way that there's a case for talking about finance. And I think you're totally right, Beck. We analyze the crap out of everything. I personally analyze everything I'm doing at work. I'm analyzing my dates. I'm analyzing my situation and everything. I am not sitting down with my friends ever to discuss finances. I actually think it is amazing that you've tapped into this, Dave and Shady, to organize this, because like my friendship circles and even just culturally, like Iranian background, right? talking about finance is almost taboo. Everyone keeps their finance discussions close to their chest. And it's interesting that you guys have this, I guess you must know people, and I would easily do it with Beck because Beck's very open and Beck is that type. But then if I look at all of my friendship circles, family, friends, you don't ask and you don't discuss it. It could really help people having these discussions more openly.
It really depends on the environment. So, Dave, Shady, I'm very interested to know if you feel the same, but we've hosted a couple of investor dinners. I had, I want to say, between 6 and 10 investors over for dinner a couple of times. And the conversation was very open then because it felt safe. Everyone was very comfortable sharing, I made this mistake, I've made money here, and then I messed this up. And then everyone was sharing that and being like, oh my God, I've been thinking about commercial real estate. What do you mean it got messed up? I think it really depends on having an environment where you're not going to be judged. Yeah.
And it's interesting because even so, I'll just look at like the Iranians in my life. Hello to all my Iranians. I love you so much. Even when they talk, what they talk about is, oh, I bought this place. It's beautiful. And they'll show pictures and they'll be like how stunning it is. But no one will talk about how much they paid for that property. No one will talk about what it took to save up for that property. It starts to meander into a taboo area. And I don't even know if it's just a fear of judgment or just sometimes people just want to keep their cards close to their chest. So I think actually identifying the people who are successful at it, because there are learnings to be had, combining those with people who are open about it and willing to share. And of course, our podcast, which is why we're here, right? So we can have these conversations that people might not be able to have. It could be so helpful. No one discusses that. And it's probably one of the most important aspects to life.
It's absolutely happening in our circles. Like even me with my mom's group, we'll have a monthly or quarterly dinner. And in the last one, we had one of our moms change her superannuation because we all started talking about what super are you on? Oh, I've heard this one has good returns. And the next week she's like, yep, I've changed super. And
that's fantastic. And yeah, I think to Beck's point, I only recently looked at my super for the first time a couple of years ago. And I was like, sweet, this is fantastic. But then I don't know if I'm on the best super. Just to have a dinner table conversation about something as small as super can make a huge difference, let alone property investing and getting recommendations on great brokers like yours.
That is one thing that I would caution as well, though, is don't take everybody's word for gospel. You have to do your own research. It is good to get the conversation started. At the end of the day, it's your money. You need to make the right decisions around where you're going to put it. And I think just sharing the information around it is taboo and not everybody talks about it. But yeah, I think it certainly helps just open up those conversations and open up your mind to what's possible.
Okay, in case you didn't catch that, Shady and Dave went through their own success levers again. Number 1, starting investing with something small initially. Number 2, tracking your investments. 3, expanding your understanding of what you can do with your finances via learning from other people, through the conversations with other investors, this podcast, and doing your own research. Number 4, take action based on what you learn and then repeat the whole process again.
I have to say though, us as a couple, we have a unique dynamic that Dave as a persona is highly analytical. He wants to research. He has now subscribed to all the investing podcasts and read the books. Barefoot Investor has been a Bible in our house. So Dave has been a big driver of de-risking our decisions because he's so highly analytical and researched. And me as a partner, I give a lot of trust to the research he does. But of course, we're in a partnership. And so no decisions are made one-sided. We have monthly meetings together. It's like we're running our own business. Dave Chromecast the spreadsheet of our finances onto the TV, and it's almost like we're the board of directors looking at how is performance going? How are we tracking? We have some wealth accumulating. What could we be doing next? We even created a mission and vision statement for us as an investing family. Once or twice a year, we look at what were our goals? Have we met them? What do we want to do next? Does everything still hold true in terms of our strategy? Do we want to change these things? So having that discipline and that view as a partnership, that we are our own company as a family investing in these different things, I think been a really important success of ours.
Just one thing I'll add really quick is I definitely get into the detail and the analytics, and I'll get too into it sometimes. And then Shadia comes in with this great vision and able to sort through what's happening. And she's just like, that's the best decision. Let's make it. And I'm like, well, do we need to, do more research? And she's like, no, let's go it. I'm like, yeah, okay. So it's a good partnership in that way.
Yeah, the one small comment I was going to make is Beck is like Dave is literally Beck, but in male form. I'm getting like Beck vibes so much, like with the spreadsheets and the planning and the detail and the discipline. And then you're a very good yin and yang, like with your discipline and your analytics, and then Shady's ability to just be like, well, this is the best idea, this is what we're doing. I think you guys have the secret sauce in your partnership as well.
I find the research really fun. When Daria was trying to decide, do we buy or do we evolve our house? I was like, we can spreadsheet this. And a friend of mine recently was like, I'm trying to figure out whether to buy my own apartment or whether to buy a house as an investment. And she's never invested before. I'm like, we can do a spreadsheet for this. Like all of these things can be modeled out. And I'm telling you, like, I can tell you what the answer will be 5-10 years, how your finances will evolve. But it's fun going down that rabbit hole. And it's especially fun when you find the friends who you can go down the rabbit hole with, and when they can poke holes at your sheet and be like, oh, you haven't factored in depreciation. You might want to think about you're going to get tax benefits from depreciation too.
But look how many people come to you, Beck, for that sort of advice. And I didn't even know that Beck was hugely into it. And I asked your advice about something, and then you came up with so much useful information. And the conversation kept flowing, and it brought us here to this podcast today. That model that you provided, it's really helpful for someone who has never done something like this and doesn't know where to start, because even if the spreadsheet modeling isn't perfect, it gives you a stab in the dark. And it's back to the network conversation, right? In this interview we're getting from David Shady is that it's not just a network, but it's a network where someone has that analytical mindset who does think going down that rabbit hole is fun, because not all of us are like that. I'm certainly not like that. And I think having someone like that in your life can really de-risk the process for you, and then make it a bit safer for someone who has never invested before to feel a little bit more confident.
Just a few gold nuggets here. This comes up every single episode, but especially in this one. When you're thinking about investing, you should also think about setting up your network as well. And in that network, you're going to have people with different skills, different passions, but really you want to have someone or be someone who enjoys modeling out different scenarios in a spreadsheet. Whenever you're making these decisions, you should always be sitting down with a sheet, thinking through the different options and different implications for each option. And again, if you ever want to talk through your research or anything on this topic, we are your network. Reach out to us at Investors in the Wild on Instagram. It feels like investing has been quite fun and there's been a natural momentum. Has anything gone wrong at any point?
Yeah, certainly has. One of my favorite examples is in 2020, we thought, you know what, we should diversify. We've got the property, let's diversify. We need to put some money into shares. So in February 2020, we dropped about $30,000 into the share market.
Oh no.
So yeah, as you can imagine what happened there.
You wouldn't have known. No one knew.
You wouldn't have known, exactly. But it was a lesson learned that things like this can happen. And the best part about it is that 30,000 that we put in there, we didn't necessarily need it right away. Like, we always put it in there for the long term. And if you look at it today, it has gone up in value. It's just interesting that you can get really attached to thinking, oh, the share market grows 8% every year, therefore I'm going to grow 8% every year. It just doesn't really work that way all the time. And then obviously with property, we've had tenants that left with 3 months rent owing and things like that, and having to chase down that payment. There's extra headaches that you hope don't happen to you, but it's all part of the journey, and nothing is ever a straight line with investing. And that's the exciting bit about it.
The one thing that I felt I definitely learned from that experience with a renter leaving and not paying 3 months of rent, like we were out of pocket for 3 months of rent, is you have to take the emotion out of the investment. When we took on that renter, it was a family, they owned a pizza shop. We're like, oh, this is wonderful. We're getting to give them a home that's near their shop. And it seemed like a positive relationship. But at the end of the day, we have to be frugal and smart about who we're investing in. They didn't even have rental history. And so that was a huge learning. We're never going to rent to somebody without rental history again. And so taking the emotion out of it. The other thing is we have fully entrusted our buyer's agent to look for properties. We've never seen any of our properties in person. Our buyer's agent has been the eyes and ears of our investing journey. And at the moment, these properties and their addresses are just points on a spreadsheet for us. And we're just tracking their growth movements. But we've not actually set foot or touched or seen these properties. So that's really taking it to the other end of being emotionally disconnected. This is a business. Look for the things that are going to give you growth. Act as an investor.
Did you get your money back for the 3 months?
No, we didn't.
There's no avenues to get your money back if someone skips out on their rent?
We had rental default insurance, but under the insurance in the clause, one of the conditions you must prove is that they are unable to give you the money. And to prove that, you need to get a debt collector to go knocking on their door, and they essentially need to say, we don't have the money, and therefore the insurance company will pay you out. So there's a lot of extra stuff. Caution anybody who has rental default insurance. It's not always easy to get paid out. But that's just, again, one of the risks you need to take. And like Shady just mentioned, getting good quality tenants in there is crucial for real estate.
I think you trusted the tenants and they failed you, but now it didn't pay off, but you've trusted the buyer's agent. I've never heard of someone having so many investment properties and not seeing any one of them. Like I've heard maybe not seeing one because it's in interstate, say in Adelaide, and you didn't want to go there. And we had KJ who had that situation, but that is ultimate trust that you're handing and it's paid off for you. So I think, yeah, it's like almost dipping your toes in and figuring out who you can trust. And then once they've proven themselves, then you've given them the ultimate trust, right? Like basically whatever she says, briefing wise, street wise, location, everything, you've completely trusted her and it's paying off. So yeah, really, really amazing.
Any decisions you'd go back on?
Good question. I don't think so. I think probably the biggest decision that I'd love to go back on is just starting earlier. Imagine if we took some of our savings in 2012 and started investing or that kind of thing. I think that's probably every investor's thought, because time is the ultimate in investing. The longer you're in it, the more you make. It's just how it goes. So obviously, yeah, if we could start earlier, we'd probably be even better position, but no regrets as to the journey we've been on.
The other decision that we're contemplating is, do we go back to rent vesting? Because we have a principal place of residence. We will outgrow it. Like it's a tiny apartment, but it works now with little children. But as they grow into full-size adults, I envision, and this is bringing the emotion into it, I envision a place where my kids bring their friends into our house and they hang out here. This place that we're in now is too small for that. And we've had in those quarterly finance meetings with Dave's friends, they're like, why don't you just sell some of your properties? And that is a huge decision because our strategy is hold on for the long term, do not sell. But then we're having to grapple with a smaller place that we live in. At least it's in a place we want to live. So that's something that we're thinking about in the next 5 years is, are we going to stay in this property? Will we sell it and buy a bigger property? Will we keep it because we see long-term growth in this small property? How could we fund our next bigger place? Or do we just go back to rent vesting?
I'm getting flashbacks. Literally, we had this conversation with Anna in our Anna episode. You have to listen to it because we cover this off. She made the decision to sell one in order to get her dream home for her family.
We're thinking about when we buy a PPOR as well. I do not want to sell investments. Like, that's my number one thing. I will not sell. I will not jeopardize the investments, which means, how do I continue to grow wealth whilst getting a PPOR? One thing that an investor friend did, she bought a house. It was a 2-bedroom. She then fixed it up, turned it into a 3-bedroom, changed the kitchen, changed the bathroom, sold it 5 years later for 2.8 mil. A lot of that obviously is timing to go from 800 to 2.8. A lot of that's the market, but then adding value as well. Do you think about what kind of strategies you might dip into, or are you like, we've got our tried and tested, let's just do our tried and tested?
With the properties that we've purchased, they're 422s in established suburbs, and we would only add value to them if that's what the expectation of the suburb demands to get good rentals. We could put a pool in the backyard, for example, because some of the neighbors have pools, and I'm sure it would add value to the property that way. We could do it up and have a new kitchen and be more modern, and we could probably command a higher rent. And honestly, we might end up doing that right before we sell it. So I would say we love watching, what's the renovation show?
Selling Houses Australia.
Selling Houses Australia, where it's great because they've got like this sort of mediocre asset, and then they go, well, if we just spent $50,000 on this, we could sell it for an extra 100. And that, to me, especially when we're going to plan the sale, that's a no-brainer, because that's just extra cash in your pocket that you don't have to work for. So I would say definitely we'll be making some touch-ups when the time comes, but for now, we're happy with it. Renters are happy paying what they're paying. We don't have any issues with vacancy rates because vacancy rates are low pretty much everywhere. So there's no sort of driving demand to try and improve it beyond what it is. But yeah, it is definitely a good strategy, and I can see it paying off.
What about to buy your own place though?
For the unit, you might be able to do a new kitchen or a new bathroom, but you're not going to generate too much growth, especially in comparison to everything else around. But yeah, I think that's a great strategy, especially if it's your PPOR and you can live through a renovation like that. It's especially a major one like that, and come out the other end. Yeah, you'll benefit from not having to pay that capital gains tax.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother podcast. Conversation is all around tax and how do you optimize that, especially with investments. It is crucial because your money can be eaten away very quickly if you don't have the right tax strategy.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm guessing you guys are reluctant to sell as well, because instantly a huge proportion of that will just go to tax.
Yeah. 100%. It is a fork in the road for us. We love our area. We love this apartment, but yeah, eventually we'll be thinking about what's next.
And then the other consideration is, if we sell one of the properties that we have, if we wanted to get back into that area, we'd be priced out because it's grown so much. So we'd have to then invest in areas that are probably further out. We're not sure if the risk profile is going to meet our expectations. So we got in, we saw some beautiful growth. Let's just hold on to them. Let's not throw something away or sell something that's doing some good work for us.
One of the things that I thought was interesting was that balance between investments and putting your money into that, or putting it into yourself and living a better or higher standard in terms of more space or more travel, more expensive luxury items, whatever it might be. And that's always a trade-off, right? You're always going to have that trade-off. And in particular, when it comes to your PPOR, I feel like people make big trade-offs there, because we, in our example, we're like, small place, live where we want to live, and we're going to take all the extra. Like, we could have bought a $3 million property and sold all our investments and gone really far that way. But we wanted to maintain the investment portfolio and really focus on that, because our ultimate goal is to retire at 50. And to do that, it can't be from a PPOR. That's the only investment we have. And it might be worth a lot, but it's not going to be generating any income for us. Yeah. So yeah, there's always that balance between, do you invest in investments or do you invest in your lifestyle?
I'm really glad that we invested in this small unit as our PPOR, because same criteria. It's a growth area. There's strong infrastructure. The East will never go down in value. It will always grow. It might not have that hockey stick effect, but it will always be growing. And so having that same mentality of what is our investment property brief look like outside of the East versus the one we bought, it's the same. And it also made me feel better looking at this property that when we bought it, there were 3 nurses living here paying $400 each for an apartment, $1,200 for a 2-bedroom converted into a 3-bedroom. And if this place is commanding that per week, it will only grow from here because we live by a uni, we live by the shops, we live by public transport, and we live by the biggest hospital.
And the beaches are just down the
And
road. It's Beck again. I found this insight really useful. Whether you're thinking about an investment or a PPOR, buying in a city or in a more regional area, it doesn't actually matter where you are. There are consistent factors that will always result in strong rents and property prices. Those things are proximity to hospitals, proximity to transport, proximity to universities, and proximity to the water.
If there's one takeaway you want people to leave with out of all of your experiences, whether it be from yourself or from the insights that you got from your buyer's agent, what would that one takeaway be?
wouldn't it be probably just having clarity about what you have, being facts driven? And what I mean by that is putting it down on paper, track your coming ins, going outs of your bank accounts, and just put a fact base into a spreadsheet so that you can make trade-off decisions about what could we be doing with money, because you might have more than you think if you actually put it all down on paper.
Speaks to my heart. I love tracking everything. We have a net worth calculator. We track it every month, and it just gives you that clarity, that vision of what's happening. And then you can start planning for the future. It's hard to set a goal, a realistic goal, if you don't know the movements of where you think you might be in the future.
Okay, final time you're going to hear me mention Shady and Dave's success levers. A key gold nugget that I got out is just the importance of tracking the investments. We'll put a link to Dave's net worth calculator in the show notes. It can be a bit tricky to pick up from blank, so reach out if you need a hand setting it up. But it takes me 10 minutes to fill this in every month, and I can see which assets have resulted in an increase in my net worth, which assets have led to a decrease in my net worth. It really is so much insight, so much value, so much learning for just 10 minutes of my time. And it's definitely worth taking 10 minutes yourself to work out how your finances are progressing each month. I've really enjoyed this conversation. If I summarize some of the key points, I feel like your partnership is like 1 + 1 = 5. The two of you coming together creates a lot of value, and your two minds together have actually multiplied your collective impact. So partnership, really beautiful to see. The network, I think I need to start having, I want to do the investor dinners again, but I want to start having a more regular cadence with friends talking about finances who I feel that open with and can just be like, here are my savings, here's the properties, what can we learn? Research, huge emphasis on research. And then the other thing in terms of putting all of your finances down in writing, I haven't really done that either. Like, I know the numbers roughly in my head, but I've never actually sat down and done a sheet and been like, okay, where is everything up to? And so I'd love to see your wealth calculator if I can, Dave, and start using it myself.
100%.
Thank you again for your time, and have a good afternoon. I'll talk to you both soon.
Thanks,
Take
Ben.
care. Thanks,
See ya.
bye.
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 Hey, it's Daria. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us on Spotify and drop a rating or a review. It'll help others find the show. And if you know someone who'd benefit from this conversation, please share it with them. We'd also love to hear from you, so DM us on Instagram at Investors in the Wild with feedback, questions, or topic ideas. And if you're an investor with insights to share, hit us up on Instagram or email us at investorsinthewild@gmail.com. After all, we're all mates helping each other.